For more, we are now joined by criminal law expert Ian Allis, governance and political analyst Prof. Kedibone Phago. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this evening for this conversation. Perhaps, Ian, let's begin with you. So yesterday, General Mkhwanazi wrapped up his Q&A in Parliament at that parliamentary ad hoc committee. And then today, we're seeing all those raids, Sibiya's house being raided, Nkabinde, who is the police minister's chief of staff, the attempt on the police minister's house to be raided as well as Maumela, the alleged Tembisa syndicate. What do all these recent testimonies alongside these raids say to us about governance in the policing and just the conduct of anti-corruption measures in South Africa?
Let me put it very simply, and that is, it appears that the chickens are coming home to roost at this present moment. Names are being given and actions being taken, whether it's to, if one could say, cover up from the past issues with regards to the corruption allegations, but clear and now it's being taken seriously and being pursued by the police, especially in light of everything that's been taken, and the National Commissioner has basically made the decision to save himself from a political and from a reputational point of view. But what one can go ahead and see is that the depth of the perceived corruption is going a lot deeper than what one imagined. And the fact is that this is not coincidental. This is now the highest of the high being named, and there's clear signals that there is going to be further upheaval in the SAPS at the highest levels going forward.
Prof. Phago, Ian says that chickens are coming home to roost. Do you think this is a turning point for South Africa?
Yes, it should be, and we need to follow this very closely as citizens, because we are affected badly by crime. And so we have always been wondering as citizens that we are not receiving the kind of support from police services. And I think at least for now, we have a hint that there is a huge, in fact, if you listen to the generals there, that there is a huge political interference and overreach in fiddling with operational policing issues, and largely because they do have material interest on a lot of, business and sometimes even criminal activities. But I think what is important, very crucial, is to listen to the to all those that are implicated, so that we have a much more broader picture of what is really happening. But for now, what has come out to the public is that we are having a direction on why our systems have been broken completely, and perhaps we need a leadership to demonstrate and show the direction on how they are going to be resuscitated.
Speaking of that resuscitation, Prof, I mean, earlier on speaking to the ad hoc parliamentary committee members, Darlene James from Action SA put the blame squarely at the feet of the ANC, while Kusela Diko said, no, but this is a societal problem and not necessarily a problem just at leadership level. What governance reforms do you think are essential at this point in order for us to curb the corruption that we are seeing, particularly in that department?
So yes, Katla, what we need to remember is that we have a lot of instruments as South Africans. The Constitution is a very important instrument that shows us what is the role of the executive. So what is the role of the president? What is the role of the minister? And of course, then we have operational issues, administrative issues that the General Masemola, Fannie Masemola is responsible for. So that tells you that one of the critical issues is how do we manage politics and administration questions that always arise when we see sometimes administrators or a commissioner or a director general at that level engaging in political issues. But what we've seen is that in most instances, we have seen an interference coming from the political authority, making appointments or even making operational decisions. So what that means is that the outcomes of these two processes, the parliamentary process and Nhlanhla Commission, must help us identify gaps in these areas.
Certainly.
And give us a direction, because we do have instruments already in place.
All right. We also have a caller on the line, Busi from Mkhwanazi in Mpumalanga. Very good evening to you. What's your question or comment?
No, thank you very much, host. I just want to comment to say, all these institutions have failed ordinary South Africans. We have the South African Human Rights Commission not even empathizing with issues of ordinary South Africans. And it is up to South Africans to take a stand. And we are seeing our country being turned into a septic tank for criminals. Lawlessness is the order of the day. And it is up to South Africans to be patriotic and respond to these call as General Mkhwanazi has done. All of us have a responsibility to protect future generations of our children. And we are seeing these Chapter 9 institutions, these laws are not addressing the issues of ordinary South Africans, and they have enabled criminality and lawlessness to be the order of the day.
All right. Thank you so much, Busi, for your comment there. I think, Ian, I'll bring you in. I mean, if Busi is speaking about how all institutions have failed South Africans and have allowed for criminality to prosper in the way that it has prospered, what are the risks that we are faced with as a nation if South Africans are feeling this way and we are seeing all this alleged infiltration amongst very important institutions such as the South African Policing Service? I want you to hold that thought. We are going for a quick break, but you'll answer that when we return. Do stay with us. All right, welcome back and thank you so much for staying with us. We are still speaking to criminal law expert Ian Allis and governance and political analyst Prof. Kedibone Phago. This is, of course, with Shadrack Spear's house being raided by heavily armed officers earlier today. So before the break, Ian, we spoke to a caller, Busi from Mkhwanazi, asking and rather saying that South Africans really should stand up for themselves because all institutions of the country have failed South Africans. What risks are we faced with when we have such sentiments from citizens?
First of all, when one looks at it from a policing point of view, it's showing that the rot is coming from the top of the tree and drifting downwards, which is a by far greater problem than when you've got the occasional odd corrupt constable who's taking a bribe at the local traffic stop. Now you're getting it at the highest possible level, which means that what is the incentive for your lower level police officer to go ahead and look at being honest? He's also going to want to have a piece of the big pie. The problem is that from your South African, then you are not guaranteed what the police are there for, which is for your safety, your security, or for your protection. It's been shown that the corruption and the rot is setting into our healthcare sector as well, which is, and I mention that specifically because one of the parties who's involved now and on the raid today was involved in the Tembisa hospital scandal. The problem is that every faction of our society, be it our government, our policing, our healthcare, the systems are all corrupt, they're broken, they're fragmented, people are in it for themselves. Now, where are we? Now you're starting to have to force people to then. What will happen is start to take law into their own hands, start self-policing, going to lead to a rise in also people feeling, I can't be protected from the police. I'm going to now need to start investing in my own protection. There's going to be increases on the needs for guns to in actual fact be purchased, because realistically, you don't know now whether you're being robbed by a criminal or by a policeman. That is how dangerous it's actually becoming. Our healthcare sector is taking a bashing because people are lining their pockets from corrupt situations of tender processes. Your government, even to a degree with strict checks and balances from our constitution, is being flagrantly bent and maneuvered around to help political agendas. That was also looked at recently within the police sector after the Mchunu controversy and the appointment of Professor Kachalia.
Right.
There's not an element that's not touched, and that leads to distrust from your population, distrust from the individuals, and an overall fear of where is the place going to go. And that makes people make rash political decisions as well, because who do you trust now? We've had a government now. This is now the result. Who's next? Who's going to come in and be in charge? Certainly. And that's where the trust at the top level has now been broken.
It's certainly been eroded. Yes.
Not just at the bottom levels.
Well, I mean, you speak about even with strict checks and balances, we still have loopholes in the system. I believe we have a number of WhatsApps from our viewers this evening. Let's just take a look at a few of those that we currently have. We have one from Lucky Makamba in Bradford in the Free State saying, according to me, it is uncalled for and unprecedented for police and cameras to go to his home state. Yes, we want all of them to be arrested, but now their homes are exposed to the country. And I believe he's speaking in relation to Shadrack Sibier's house being raided earlier today. And then Tembisa Chuvuga says, good evening, everyone. It seems like the chickens are coming home to roost. For all those who thought they are above the law, I want to see all of them in orange overalls. Hi Katleho, I'm Josie from Matanda in Limpopo. The rot in SAPS has been happening for quite some time and the institution needs a total overhaul. I've been there and I know what I'm talking about. Thanks, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. Last but not least, Anonymous says Sibi and Gabinde should stop fooling us. They must not even go to Nhlanhla and the ad hoc. They should just save the state time and money and just hand themselves in to police and confess everything. At least they will get minimum sentences, because where there's smoke, there is a fire. Okay, so those are some of your thoughts from at home. Continue to send us some of your questions and comments. Just to wrap up the conversation there, Prof, with regards particularly with the public trust and confidence, because I think at the end of the day, really it is about citizens looking at these institutions and hoping that the institutions do what they need to do, particularly when it comes to the security of South Africans. How do we restore that public confidence, particularly in the criminal justice system?
We have a document that the cabinet signed in 2022. It's called the Professionalization of the Public Sector, and it really seeks to address these kinds of questions and make sure that our institutions are professional, that they are effective, that they are optimal, and they respond to the kind of needs, societal needs that we are facing. So what that means is that you're going to need a different type of a politician, of a public administration specialist who would understand their role and make sure that whatever they discharge is actually in line with the constitutional mandate. So we need to also subject, beyond the, we need to subject the policing beyond these commissions and beyond these processes and say, how do we repurpose the policing so that we are able to restore trust? And I think one critical element there is going to be the political will. And that is also in the hands of South Africans, that we must find a way of making sure that the kind of a politician that we have in a system is able to understand the limitations of what they have and allow the space for public officials to do their job so that they are able to hold them accountable. So if we don't talk about all these questions of accountability, of making sure that politicians have act with restraint, we will continue to perpetuate the current problems that we are having, that our system continue to be broken down.
Certainly. I mean, a very interesting point there, saying political will also rests in the hands of South Africans. Very quickly, Ian, a question I asked to Action SA MP. Do you think this infiltration is limited to SAPS, or are we going to see revelations from other departments of government?
I can say it's not limited to SAPS. I believe this is all throughout. It's our healthcare sector. It's STARS itself, it's the government or authorities in the government offices. This rot is all over. It's within the civil justice system as well. There is not a will that's been left. There's not a rock that's been left that's going to be left unturned. where the rot is not there.
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time and for your insights this evening. That's Prof. Kedibone Phago, governance and political analyst, as well as Ian Allis, who's a criminal law expert.